And we are live. We are live. Yup. Let me invite some people up in her. Invite. I'm just inviting some people. Peace, Alafia to everybody that's coming in. I do the thing where I pull it up on my phone and have the comment so I can see the comments. Peace, Brother Sean. What's happening? Peace, Sister Terry, Brother Kofi, Brother Gino, Brother Al Wisdom. Oh, we got Ambassador O in the building. What's going on there, brah? Lafia, Arakurin, Lafia, say Lafia Ni, Bawo Ni. Peace to everybody that's coming in. I appreciate y'all coming in. Y'all like my shirt, man? Let me lift up my leg case. Y'all like my shirt? This is exclusive right here. Shout out to my boy, man. My boy JC. My boy Cameron, man, came through, made me something exclusive. You know, he flew all the way to my base to give it to me. So shout out to him, man. You know, Master Your Peace, Sleepers for Suckers. That's the brand he be rolling with. So, you know, I support him, man. You know how it is. What's going on, Justin? What's going on, bro? I know you either in Kuwait or South Africa, one of the two. Lafia, Icaro. Everything is well. Everything is well, Iya. Thank you for joining us. What's going on, Brother Ray? Brother Cooper, what's going on? Sir Knight, what's going on? Brother Sammy, what's going on, bro? Brother Daryl, what's going on? Okay, you in Kuwait. Okay. All right, just making sure. Said, let's talk about the divine, the feminine divine. You always talk about the feminine divine, EI. You know, we're going to have to do a show together so I can let you go in on that, you know, because you got a lot more information than I do. If y'all don't know Iya Oyawumi, if y'all see her in the chat room, check out her page. She got a lot of great information on Ifa. She got a lot of great information on the culture of Ifa, man. Check her out, bro. I think she's doing you doing the Isheshe Festival today in New York, right? Iya? I believe that's true. If so, man, if you in New York, link with Sister Oyawumi, and she will get you directions to that because I know it's going down in New York. Okay, we got our first question. What's going on, Deb Garcia? My wife and my brother are in the chat room. What's going on, B? What's going on, Ayaba? All right, the first question is, what's a good DNA test you would recommend for tracing your ancestors? There are multiple companies you can go to, but personally, I did 23andMe. 23andMe is a decent DNA testing company. The problem with 23andMe is, they're still expanding their database of African DNA. So you will get a lot of updates on your DNA with that company. versus a company like Brother Rick Kittles with African Ancestry. African Ancestry has the largest database of African DNA that I know of. Now, price. 23andMe will be significantly less in price, and African Ancestry is pretty expensive. There are other companies out there. GeneBase, that's a good company you can go with to get your DNA tested. So I hope I answered your question, Brother Darrell. Brother Sean, I love you and miss you too, brother. Didn't want you to think I didn't see that. Can we talk a little about the significance of understanding your Ori? Okay, your Ori, your first Orisha in the Ifa or Yoruba culture. Your Ori is, like I said, your first Orisha, the one you were born with. Your Ori is basically your consciousness. Your Ori is linked to your destiny. Your Ori is always with you, no matter what. It's important to what we call feed your Ori and refresh your Ori so that, your Ori will not become confused. It's basically, like how Christians talk about, that still small voice. Well, in Yoruba, that comes from your Ori. Your Ori is very, 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 very important. And, we can go into the molding of your Ori, how it comes about. There are many things you can read about that. But basically, your Ori is your first Orisha. And being that it's your first Orisha, and it means head, so it lives in here. You should always take care of it. You should always feed it. You should always give it cool water. And there's other things you can feed your Ori. So that's just a little bit of the importance of your Ori. What's going on, Ogun? Come on in. Hit me with y'all questions, man. This is interactive, man. I got nothing, no slides, no nothing. This is all y'all, man. Whatever questions y'all got, hit me, man. It's something I just started doing, because a lot of times us people that do lectures and conferences and things of that nature, we don't get to interact with the people as much as we want to. So I put this together. So whatever questions y'all got, man, hit me. I'm waiting on y'all because, we come in focused on what we're going to give to y'all, but y'all might have to want to ask us something. We might not get to y'all. So this is why I put this together. Icaro from Trinidad and Tobago. Oh, that's what's up, bro. I got to get out there one day. Okay, we got a question. What's the future of the Black race? Is there hope for the African diaspora? It depends on what you mean. As African people, we've survived, many Holocausts, and I feel like we're in one right now. The future of our race or people depends on action, depends on what we do. What we do to counteract the oppression that we're on. Whether it's repatriation, whether it's setting up a governmental body in the United States, whether it's, whatever we come up with, that will determine our fate and whether we survive or not. But as African people, we're going to survive one way or the other. That's just what we do. But what kind of life will we have in that survival? That's up to us. Okay, let me scroll up. I think I missed some questions. Last week you mentioned speaking to ancestors normally to venerate them, but if we are to ask them for their approval, is it a different approach? Okay. Question is about speaking to ancestors. What is the approach when doing so? This goes into the divination piece. When you ask your ancestors permission in African spirituality, you have to do a form of divination. This is how we communicate with our ancestors. There's many forms of divination throughout the continent. The ones that I've personally either seen performed or performed myself is something we call Obi. Obi Abata is with kola nuts that are only found, to my knowledge, in Africa. And you do a special ceremony with these, or ritual rather, with these kola nuts. And based upon the position on which they land, This tells us yes or no questions from the ancestors. There's also divination of cowrie shells. You've probably seen these before. Cowrie shells divination is a little bit more intricate, a little bit more math-based, but it depends upon how many land a certain way as well. Then you have the big boy, the Ifa, the Iroke, and the Opan Ifa, the tapper and the tray, with the Irirosun for the powder. This is probably the most advanced out of Ifa. And you, depending on the odus that come from those readings, is how we communicate with our ancestors. I hope I answered your question. Do you know a good book on African herbs? I don't know a book on African herbs, but I do have a person you can talk to. If you talk to Sister Oyawumi Awoshade Ajala, she not only is good with herbs, but she has a store in which she sells herbs. So you please get with her on the herbs, and she can school you on the herbs thing, because there's a whole lot of herbs in African tradition that do different things. And you would need to find, an experienced priest like her, or what we call the Onisegun. Oniseguns are herbalists, and those are the people that take care of herbs in our tradition. Okay, Brother Kofi, where did Oduduwa come from? There are many stories. To be honest, the Odus just say he came from the East. We don't know if that's East Africa. We don't know if that's East Nigeria. We don't know where that is exactly. The Odus just say the East. So what I don't do is appropriate, he came from here. He had to come from here. Like, it just says East. We don't know where that comes from. If you ask me my opinion, I believe he came from Ikiti. But that's just my opinion. I don't have any archaeological evidence or scientific facts to back that up. So, him being the founder of the Ile Ife people, Odu say he came from the East. That's all we got. My wife, what's a black race? Something that we say. But if we want to be specific, there is no black race. We are African people, but black race is just a euphemism, something that we like to say. Black is more of a culture than a people. And it was developed in the United States post-transatlantic slave trade. The whole Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud, the whole Blak Pantha movement, the whole Black Liberation Army, all that was developed in the United States of America. And then because of people like Dr. Martin Luther King, because of people like Malcolm X, because of people like Kwame Nkrumah, going back and forth from America to Africa, it became this global thing, But it was developed here in the United States of America. You should be proud of that. This is something that we created that wasn't a part of our traditional culture, but it's an extension of our traditional culture. Have you ever met with any elders from the Orisha tradition from Trinidad and Tobago? If yes, do you see any difference in the practice of the tradition? I've never met any elders from the Trinidad and Tobago sect of Orisha practitioners. I've seen some documentaries, but I've never personally met any. I do know that y'all have something there called Shango Baptists, which is interesting. I'd like to meet one day, just to discuss things. It's always good to discuss things and see how other people do it, DNA tests are extremely questionable after the first generation. I tend to disagree, brother. What are some books on setting up an altar? What type of altar are you trying to set up? If it's an ancestor altar, there's a book I was selling, and if you contact me in my inbox, I can give you the brother's information. It's called Ancestor Veneration. It's by a chief priest, Oti, from Oyotunji village, and it will give you the steps on how to set up an ancestor altar, which is very simple. Any other altar you want to set up, I would say consult a priest of that tradition because there are different rules for different traditions. Ricky Ross, my man, the guy that's deaf to music. Are you still mediocre on the basketball court? Hey, man, anytime you want to get these hands, man, you know where to find me, bruh. You know where to find me. SU ain't going to save you either. It's almost SU's always be talking. Can we get some info on your latest book? Okay, the latest project that I'm a part of is called Ikaro Mommy, Ikaro Daddy. It's about how to greet elders and parents in the Yoruba tradition. It's very important that we learn, not only the history of our people, not only how they did things, but the actual practices, putting this into practice, making this something that we do in our daily lives. So this book goes over some ways that you can do that. It's for children, it's for adults, it's for everybody. It's just showing you how to greet people of distinction in an African tradition. Okay. We are going there. Can you break down some standard greetings and responses? Okay. In the Ifa tradition, we say Alafia, which means peace. You may hear Bawo Ni or say Alafia Ni, basically asking you, how are you doing? But when greeting elders, we do something that's called Dobale. And this is priests or elders or babalaos or things of that nature. And for men and women, it's different. For men, you get down like in a push-up position, and you basically lay there until the babalao gives you your blessing. And by blessing, he means he'll say "Ago Ato." Basically, that basically means I believe it means long life, long dwelling, or something to that nature. But it's a blessing you get from a babalao or a priest. So that's what we do in Ifa tradition. For females, the prostration is a little different. They kind of lay on their sides and, but they're still relieved by the priest. So that's a standard greeting in Ifa. What's up, brother Heru, man? Brother, me and Heru was in Kemet together on the Kemet New Tour. Peace, bro. Could coming from the east mean rising sun or light being generated out there? Look, the old dude says he came from the east. I'm not going to try to interpret that because we could go into so many different ways of what that actually could mean. But it says Oduduwa came from the east. That's all I got. I wish I had more insight into where he actually came from. But I will say that from the evidence I've seen, it was somewhere in Africa. Excuse me. And not outside of it. So that's all I got, brother. I wish I had more on that topic. D-Baz, was it a charge or a block? I have to see the tape again. From first glance, it looked like a charge. But I will have to look at the footage again, brother. Warriors in 6. I have DNA testing and found relatives in Africa between 5th and 7th cousins, so that's incorrect. I'd have to see your test, brother, and I have to see the actual company that you did it with. So we're not going to get into that here, but you never know. You might be correct. My cousin's in the building. My cousin Ava. Without Ava, I would have been totally lost in Senegal because let me tell y'all something. Let me share this with you. When you pick an African country to visit, make sure that African country speaks English or you speak the language that they speak. Because you mess around, go to these places and can't communicate with anybody. It was very humbling to be in a place where nobody understood you. Like they might have 1 to 2 people that speak English and you like, man, I need a translator. Like it's very humbling, It's so when you pick an African country to visit, please keep that in mind. Have you ever heard of an Orisha by the name of Og? No, I haven't heard of an Orisha by the name of Og, but there's over 400 plus one Orishas and even more Irumales. So there's probably a lot of Orishas I haven't heard of. I probably could rattle off like 25, 30 maybe if I really thought, but it's probably a lot of Orishas that, we just don't say their names anymore, depending on what they're in charge of. You know, certain regions had Orishas that we don't have here in the United States, so we never hear their names, so if Orisha was Orisha for famine, we don't have that. So that name probably hasn't been spoken for so long that people forget about that Orisha, What's going on, Brother Greg? Referred to as Obatala's bird of good fortune. I would say this. Obatala has a lot of offshoot Orishas just coming out of him that basically are connected to him. So I definitely could see that. You're never going to remember them, Brother Kofi. The idea is not to remember every single one, but, if they come up in a reading, this is why we have trained priests and trained people of the culture so we can ask them, what is this name that I see? Peace and power to you too, brother. Peace and power to you too. What's going on, Brother Inquanith? Met that brother at the Akumalu Festival, I think it was a year ago. Yeah, that's when I was coming into my Egungun priesthood. So peace, brother. Always good meeting you. Oh, I almost forgot. I want to share with y'all. Y'all know the Yoruba New Year was yesterday. So Odunde, which means Happy New Year in Yoruba tradition. And in Yoruba tradition, an Odu or an energy pattern is given for the entire year. So thanks to Sister or Iya Owuyemi, she gave me via her Facebook the one of the Odus for the year, which is Irete Ika. And Irete Ika says, Ifa says life would be pleasant with this person. So hopefully that is a message for Ire or blessing for this year, and you can be prosperous this year. In Yoruba tradition, I wish everybody a happy, prosperous, plentiful, bountiful Yoruba New Year. It's like the 4,200 different religions, too many to remember. Oh, yes. Africa is honeycombed with different spiritual systems, so it's impossible to know them all. Yesterday, we ended our Shango festival here. You got some pictures? Post some pictures, man. Post some pictures. Let the people see how y'all do it in Trinidad and Tobago with Baba Shango. Kawo kabiyese aluwo. Obe lube obaye, obaye, obe yana yana. Let us see, brother. Let us see the king. See how y'all treat the king out there, man. Let us see. Brother from Nigeria who practices traditional Igbo system, Omin Ani, I think you mean to say Odin Ani, says unless a person speaks the language, they can't follow the system. Is that different for Ifa? Can a person who doesn't speak Yoruba follow? This is the thing. You can follow things without speaking. But when it comes to traditional prayers, when it comes to traditional ceremonies, when it comes to songs, yes, this is all spoken in the Yoruba language. No different in Igbo. They have their own language in which they speak things in their language. So the further you get into an African spiritual system, you're going to be learning two things. You're going to be learning the culture of that system, and you're going to be learning a new language. It's no different from studying Kemet. if you're going to get deep into Kemet and start reading the literature, which I suggest, you're going to have to learn two things, the culture, and you're going to have to learn Medu Neter, because studying it from the eyeball test is only going to get you so far and may lead you in the wrong direction. So the brother is right. You have to learn the language of that culture. But I wouldn't say that you had to learn it to actually start to be a practitioner. Now, when you get further up into priesthood and things of that nature, yeah, you need to start learning that language, brother. Peace, brother Kofi. Salute. I appreciate it, bro. Hey, it's brother Wash in the building. Brother Wash, where you at, man? I ain't seen you in a minute. I'm still in the sandbox. Where you at? Brother Drummer, what's going on, bro? There's a person from Trinidad in here. Whoever it is, hit me up. Yeah, Greg. Brother Andre Africa Lovelace. Y'all link up. Appreciate it, brother Haru. Appreciate it. I hope you're still joining us on the trip this year. It's going to be lit. If y'all don't know, August, I'm going to Kemet, Nigeria, Benin, and Togo. It's going to be lit. You know, we're gonna be doing this every year, though. So, you know, I believe it's sold out this year, but next year, definitely hit me up. I'll put you in contact with the right people. You in where? Poland? Oh, hell no. I can't visit you in Poland. Nah, bro. Too cold. Too many others in Poland. I keep it there. Others. Way too cold in Poland. Cool, bro. Goodness, it's gonna be your second time in Kemet, my third time. You know, we gonna our second time traveling to Africa together, brother. Can't wait to see you. Any more questions? Hit me with your questions. Anything you got? Need info on the trip. Okay, the trip is called the Africa Tour. Let's see if I tag him in this. That's not working out. Okay. Oh, there he is. Okay, I just put his name in the chat room. That's the brother. That's my godfather. Contact him about the trip. He's the brother that's taking us. The trip is absolutely sold out, baby. But they want to know for next year. And will I marry you again? Of course I'll marry you again. You want him right now? You got a priest over there? I'll bring you on the line so we get married on live. Ain't nobody got married on Facebook Live yet. Let's do it. Do you need a Babalawo to practice Orisha? No, you don't need a Babalawo, but you do need a priest of some level. Babalosa, Babalorisha, Iyalorisha, a priest of some nature to guide you in that journey, because there are things you need to know how to do, and there's things you need to know not to do, and things you need to know to do, and then somebody has to eventually put these around your neck, this, as you advance, they have to do certain rituals and ceremonies that you're not going to be able to do yourself. So you do need a priest of some sort, preferably a Babalawo, because they can give you the entire package, but it's not entirely necessary. What's going on, Sister Alika? What else y'all got? I'm surprised Brother Sean ain't got 15 questions for me. Him and Brother Kofi. These brothers, you know what? Y'all ain't nothing, man. Because y'all drill me all day with questions. But now that I get on live, nothing. How do you feel about paying for readings? I don't take exception as long as it's not egregious. Typically, a reading is between $150. Now, let me tell you something. If you paying for readings and they $250, $300, that's way too much in my opinion. Readings are an exchange. The old dudes do talk about an exchange. Now, of course, the exchange was different in ancient Africa, but now that we're in the United States and we're playing the game of capitalism, unfortunately, and we have to keep these temples going and we have to buy all these materials, then yes, we have to charge a fee now that we are in the diaspora and now that our countries have been hit with so much capitalism and genocide and these other things. But it should not be egregious, especially just for a read, So be cautious of that. You run into a priest, you want to charge you $300, $400 and up for a reading, find somebody else. Baba Jammu Ogunleye McClendon, what's going on, brother? Lafayette. Yeah, Kofi, I'm talking to you. You got no questions now. You done emptied the clip all week. Now you ain't got no questions. Peace, brother Dominique Robinson. No, that I don't. I was wondering, as I met people who seem connected naturally, where they know certain things have been to or spoken to others. There are people that are naturally inclined to things. That's in every walk of life. There are people that are naturally inclined to things. But in order to take it to a level where you can meet your destiny, you still need guidance of a priest or a person that has been anointed as a babalao, and that's any tradition. Whether you're in Voodoo, you need a Haugan or a Mambo. If you're in the a Fadru tradition at a synagogue, you need a Saltigue. There's always that person, that teacher that helps you along the way. Maybe you starting stuff. Is there such thing as a one-drop rule? And do you take on the race of your mother? Okay. One-drop rule. There is no such thing as a one-drop rule. A one-drop rule is something that slave masters came up with because they were raping our women, and when the babies came, they did not want to take care of it. Therefore, they came up with the one-drop rule because if he got one drop of nigger blood, he a nigger. That's their attitude. We take that rule and now apply it to everybody across the board. So you got one drop of blood and you black. That's not true. It's not true. Genetically speaking, it's not true. You got people that look African that are not genetically. Because we always like to say black is dominant, right? Well, in phenotype, yeah, but not in genotype. Genotype is what you are. So you may look like a black person, but genetically be more European than you are African. That's just what DNA does. So we need to get rid of the one-drop rule. It's not true. Unless we see people's genetics, we don't know what they really are. They may not know what they really are. That's just a fact of life. So if a person has an ambiguous past of a Mexican mother and half Cuban, half black father, we have no idea what that person is until we see their genetics. But it's probably not going to be African. So that's right. Cardi B is probably not black. I just had to say it. What we are seeing here in Trinidad and Tobago's brothers coming from Nigeria in charge, and God almighty, I'm sorry, 30,000 TT, 7 US to 1 TT for working things like initiation. Okay, from my experience, initiations go from $3,000 to $5,000. That's my experience in the States and in Africa. That's my experience. And it's days upon initiation. It ain't like you just show up, you do some prayers, and okay, you're a priest now. Nah, bro. You gonna be here for days, and a lot of things are gonna happen. So are you what your mother is? No, you're not what your mother is. How many chromosomes do we have? That answers your question. You didn't just get your mother's chromosomes. You didn't just get the 23 and then it was like, I don't need the other 23. No, you need both. You're 23 from your mother, you're 23 from your father. You're 46 together. If you believe in gene fusion, 48, whatever. This what makes you up. There's no way of telling what side you got more of unless you do genetic testing. It's just what it is. Absolutely. DNA is everything. That's what we are. That's who we are as African people. When you go get tested, those markers going to show up every time. You cannot hide that. You can't hide that. No matter what DNA testing company you go to, it's going to say you're African. For Black people in America, you're most likely either more West African, probably, or Central African. Why are you West and Central African? Because that's where they took us from in the transatlantic slave trade. You get very few people that are South African or East African or North African. That's because the Islamic slave trade prior to the transatlantic slave trade wiped out the North Africans. So you don't get a lot of people that are North Africans. The East African people like Ethiopia, Eritrea, and Djibouti seem to be spared during the transatlantic slave trade, but not spared in the political battles later with the Battle of Adwa and other battles that went on in East Africa. So the reason why we're most West and Central Africa is because of the transatlantic slave trade. Is it bad to keep an altar in the closet? No. If that's the best place for it in your house, that's fine. But be cognizant of the fire that you put on your altar. Make sure, that's not a problem. I want you to burn your house down when you light that candle. So, be cognizant of that. So if I were to find out that I was not African descent, should I stop supporting the people that I believe to be my people? I would be devastated. I can't. Look, you supporting people has nothing to do with your genetics. You supporting us because you want to support us, because you see the imbalance that is going on in the world. There are white people that support us. There's Mexican people that support us. We have brown berets. We have the young lords who fought with the Blak Panthers in the 60s. So it has nothing to do with your race, whether you want to support us or not. You can support us. We guess what? I bet if I took a poll, we would like that you do support us, because we need all the support we can get globally. So no, it's not something that should stop you from supporting. What's going on, Sister Quindella? Quindella, another sister I traveled to Kemet with. Peace, sister. I hope everything is well with you. There are plenty of people who support Africa. Yes, exactly. There are plenty of people who support African people that are not African. That's just what it is. Any more questions? Any more? Oop, sitting on this doggone phone. It's talking to me. It's saying get off. Ashe. Any more questions? Brother Sean, I'm going to tag you. You and COVID. Watch this. Be asking me questions later. Name of the 2 books you will be dropping in 2019. Okay. My first book will be called African Spirituality for the Woke Community. This will address African spirituality as a problem solver in the so-called woke community. So first we have to define what the woke community is. Then we have to identify the problems in the woke community. Then we have to, I'm getting the name of the second book. That's why I'm in my phone. But then we have to identify how African spirituality is our culture and can help us in the woke community. So that's what my first book will be. My second book will be entitled Awan Awujo Asiri Africa, which basically means African secret societies and their importance in African liberation. So I will be diving into the so-called mystery systems of Africa. I will be talking about some common ones. I will be talking about some uncommon ones and how we can use that to help us in our fight for African sovereignty and African liberation. So that's what the books is going to be about. Why is Egypt so romanticized? Egypt is so romanticized because Egypt is like the shiny object at the store. You know, it's very shiny. It looks great. And people gravitate towards that. The problem is people gravitate towards it and don't really study Egypt in depth to know what they're talking about. So a lot of people go study Egypt, go get a book on Egypt. Few people go get a language book on Egypt. See, now we going past the eyeball test. Oh, I see the pyramids, they're great. Okay, that's good. Oh, I see these temples, they're great. Oh, all right. What does that writing say on the inside? Oh, I don't know. It probably says something about, and then they go to make up whatever they want to make up. Instead of taking a class and reading the language. Egypt is a unique study because they left us exactly what they were saying. And we seem to be too lazy to study that. But we want to wear the unks. We want to, rock all the Egyptian gear. And that's great. I love that you're interested. But you got to go that extra mile to really get into the culture of African spirituality, to get in the culture of African people. And I guarantee you, if you get into Kemet language deep, you will understand the rest of the African cultures more. Because they all do the same things. They all do the same things, man. And I have countless examples of that. But you got to get into that language and culture. Language is the DNA of the people. Oh boy, I knew somebody was going to bring up Haile Selassie. Okay, I don't have my notes here, but Haile Selassie, who claimed to not be an African, yeah, he said that. He said he was a Hamito-Semitic. And you look up those two words and tell me they don't mean African. Basically, his legend comes from a biblical and an Egyptian narrative, both of which are not recorded in the Egyptian records. I mean, no, they're not in the biblical records. So his king's list claim is not legitimate. But he was an African king. He's an African king of Ethiopia. But he wasn't for us. He didn't see us as a global people. Marcus Garvey and him got into heated debates. Marcus Garvey called him something to the equivalent of a white man's dog because he asked for assistance with his UNIA program and getting people back to Africa, and Haile Selassie was unwilling to help him. So Haile Selassie does not share or did not share the Pan-African mindset that many of us share. He did not share our politics. Although he was an African king, he just wasn't Garvey-like, as many of us are, you know. So I hope that answered your question. Can you speak on the necessity of blood sacrifice? I can speak on the necessity of sacrifices in general. First, let me say all sacrifices are not blood sacrifices. Sacrifices may be you giving up them cigarettes that you've been smoking all the time. You need to give them up. And probably an Orisha will tell you in a reading to give them up. So sacrifice can be many things, but blood sacrifices in general is about the exchange of energy, and more, you're getting serious when you get to this level. You're getting to a level where we need more than your word. We get to a level of we need more than just a promise, because when you communicate with the energy of your ancestors or the energy of the cosmic forces and the natural forces that we call Orishas, they're not taking no bull. When they tell you to do something, it's best that you do it. And we need an exchange. It's a covenant between you and the energy. We need an exchange of energy so that we can know you're serious. So that's one of the most important aspects of blood sacrifices and their necessity throughout the African continent. I know some people are squeamish. I know some people don't like it. The best thing I can tell you is turn your head, because it's got to happen. This is how we communicate. This is how we do business as African people. So, you know, my wife would tell you, you know, when we first started this thing, you know, she was a bit squeamish, but she understands. And, you know, she came into the realization of why it was important. So I hope I answered your question, brother. What books would you suggest our teenagers? All the books that you read as adults. Start them early. Blueprint for Black Power. Falsification for African Consciousness by Amos Wilson. Black Man of the Nile. Joseph, Dr. Ben. African Holocaust. John Henry Clark. Destruction of Black Civilization. Chancellor Williams. Get them. Put them on right now. Yeah, you got to answer Granny, Sean. Don't let me get you in trouble. What projects or where do you see the Mossi in the next year or two? Projects, you know, we take on projects all the time. But in the next year or two, man, I want the Mossi. Well, let me tell you what I don't want the Mossi to be. I don't want the Mossi Warrior Clan to be just an internet group. I want us out in the community. I want us in the bookstores. I want us at the universities. I want us to be respected on that level. And it may take more than 2 years, but that's where I want to see the Mossi. Boy, you silly. You didn't ask Kofi how long it's 30 minutes. What's going on, Anubis? What's happening, bro? Battle rap monster. Do you think it's disrespectful to call someone like Nelson Mandela a sellout based on looking at South Africa today and showing that nothing has really changed? Hey, man, I love Nelson Mandela before he went to prison. That guy that came out, man, if we're being honest, if we're being truthful, and it hurts to talk like this, you know, for a brother that fought apartheid, you know, really fought physically, killed people. It hurts that he went out the way he did, but if we're being honest, I don't think it's disrespectful. Because in the end, it's of my opinion, that's what he did. Now, we don't know anybody's limit of pain they can endure, and everybody wants to be free. I get that. But your own people suffered because you made the deal that you made. So it's very disheartening, but that's what happened. I'm going down here. Why is there white babalawos in our tradition, and do you think they should be rebuked? There are white babalaos in our traditions because we initiate. That's why you have places that people go in Africa that get initiated no matter what color you are. And this is why I always say repatriation is one of our biggest solutions, because we have to remind our brothers in the continent the ramifications of what they're doing. And we have to invest in Africa. Therefore, they don't have any reason to talk to these people. And some of them have been, what's the word I'm looking for? Depowered, rebuked, debunked. Some of them have, because they've been misrepresenting the tradition. But it is a problem. And it's not just in Ifa. It's in other traditions. Ghana has the same problem. They're crowning white folks as nanas and chiefs and kings and everything like that. Unfortunately, that's something we're going to have to fight. But my suggestion is always find you a temple that aligns with your politics. I'm fortunate enough to be a part of a lineage that does not initiate Onyinbo, which means white people in Yoruba. Come on, brother Andre. Get used to the blood. Get over it. What's your thoughts on Idi Amin? I haven't studied him to the degree to form a formal opinion on him, but I do. Only thing that I know about Idi Amin is he used to make white people bow to him as he spoke. I need to study him more in-depthly to see if I can fully endorse him. Exactly, Ayaba. They haven't experienced, some of the people in some of these regions haven't experienced things that we experience in America. So when we tell them these experiences, they're like, oh my God. And you will be surprised. You will go to Africa and meet an African person that has not experienced racism and doesn't know anything about the transatlantic slave trade. As crazy as that sounds, right? You will meet him. I met one in Senegal. He asked me, we were on a boat in the Pink Lake, and there was a white man taking a picture, and he said, look at the Tubob. Now, Tubob is what they refer to as white people. And I said, oh, yeah. And he said, how is Tubob in America? And I said, bad. And he said, oh, Tubob mistreat you. I said, yes. He said, oh, my goodness. He did not know. He had no idea. So I had to educate him on that. When is the book? You know what, Sean? I'm beginning to write the book in January of 2019. When I finish, I'll finish. And I'll let you know when I finish. All I can tell you is when I'm beginning. When can I come get my reading done by you? When I learn how to do readings. When I learn to the proficiency to where I can give you an accurate reading, brother. And I will be beginning that training shortly. So when I feel like I am proficient enough to give you a reading, I'll definitely put that out there. Only thing I can do for you now is throw Obi is only going to give you yes or no. Any more questiones? That was my only surprise going to Africa, how many people would know nothing. It's not taught. It's not taught in the school system. It's not something people like to talk about. It's like they're trying to forget, you know? And we cannot allow them to forget. We can't. What's going on, Dep Right? What's going on, brother? If you need some martial arts training, hit that brother up right there. Leon DeFore Wright. A beast. He's in the Black Belt Hall of Fame. And he's a brother that set me on this path that I'm on now. So I'm forever grateful to Brother Wright. Do you feel it's imperative that we as diasporians bring awareness of nature and the history of it. Yes, I do. I do. I do think it's imperative that we continue or remind them of the atrocities so we can get some things straight for the record. Man, what's your favorite food you like to be cooked by your wife? Ooh, my favorite food that my wife cooks? Ooh, you know I like the spicy cabbage, baby. You know I'm a spicy cabbage, but my wife make this spicy cabbage, man. I like the spicy cabbage. She make a mean lasagna too. I'm getting hungry. Let me drink something. Thanks, Brother Sean, for that. Yes, my family does homeschool, Alika, and my wife educates them. Why is there 16 cowrie shells significant in the Odu Fa, and how do you think divine principles and concepts came into being a thought? There are 16 cowrie shells because 16 is the number of Orunmila. That number is associated with Orunmila, therefore is associated with divine knowledge. And you can do the math. What's the formula? It's something times 16, which equals 256, which is the number of Odus. And that's why the number 16 is so prevalent throughout the culture. That's why it was 16 elders. Duduwa named the city-states. That's why there were 16 of them. 16 is a very prevalent number. Now, the divine principles and concepts, I believe, were instituted and came into being by trial and error until they got the system down pat. What up, AJ Pato? A Samoan brother. What's going on? Where you at in the world these days, man? We have a community here in our capital called Rada Community. Rada. Interesting. Whose ancestors came to Trinidad and Tobago as a free man from Benin. Good. Because I was going to say Rada spirits are old spirits from Africa in the Voodoo tradition. And they have kept that tradition alive and well for over 150 years as a form of voodoo. Yeah, that makes sense. Rada spirits are very old spirits from Africa in the Voodoo tradition. And Petra are said to be spirits that were born in the diaspora, particularly in Haiti when they were going through their revolution. They're more warlike spirits. So, yeah, that makes sense. I'm going to Benin, so I'm going to check them out, man. Any more questions? What else y'all got? That's cool that they got a community there, though. I'd love to go to Trinidad and Tobago and see how they do it. I love to go to all the little sects, Cuba, Brazil, Trinidad and Tobago, St. Thomas, St. Croix. He found voodoo is something that, spread so many places. So it's a lot of places you can go and see the culture. Can you explain what an Egbe is? Oh, okay, Egbe. Egbe. Egbe, two meanings. Egbe is a spiritual family on earth that that have gone through some type of initiation and are bound together. So you see Egbe Orisha, like a temple, Egbe Egungun, like Egungun society, and so on and so forth. Now, there's another Egbe, which is probably more important. Egbe is a divine twin of yours that resides in the ancestors' realm. And when you got your Orient instructions and decided on your destiny from Oludumare, then the Egbe is the one that wrote down everything you said you was going to do. and monitors that from the Ikoleo room, or the ancestors realm. You can actually receive Egbe as a pot or a something you can put in your home that gives reverence to your Egbe. And everyone has an Egbe. The first Egbe is said to be called Egbe Ojiji. And the word Ojiji means shadow. So they're comparing Egbe to your shadow. Your shadow goes with you everywhere. What was it like to have a marital ceremony in Kemet? It was a beautiful thing. I always tell people my best men were the ancestors in Kemet, Asar, Aset. those were my best men at my wedding. It was great to do it at Ipitashut. Something that I believe me and my wife will never forget. And it was, just a beautiful ceremony. How did you decide where you wanted to get initiated? Well, when I did my Egungun initiation, there wasn't a lot of choices. I had already chosen a temple to be a part of, or an ile. We do our initiations in Florida. So I had to travel down to Florida to meet my Alagba, which is the head of the Egungun Society. And I went through the initiation steps from there. So it's all about picking your temple, right? Yeah, Pato, everything good. You at Fort Bliss? I was just there, man. Damn. I should have hit you up because I was having a horrible time at Bliss. Clyde McBride is in the building. What's going on, Clyde McBride? That brother is my brother, man. Yeah, 16 times 16 is 256. You're correct, Heru. Can you cook, Brother Ben? If so, what is your go-to dish for the family? Man, I suck. But if I had a go-to dish, I guess it would be spaghetti. Pancakes. Something simple. How do you feel about polygamy today? Polygamy is something that works for some people, doesn't work for other people. It just depends on your goal and what you want to do. I do believe polygamy can work if done right. If you're doing it just to get another woman, you're going to fail. Excuse me. It has to be a family unit, family oriented. And, as long as it's rooted in togetherness, you should be successful. Any advice on buying land? Get you a contact in the country that you want to buy land in. Get you a contact, and wherever you want to buy land, get you that contact. Because that's critical. Because if you're not going to live there right away, you need somebody to watch your property. Because in Africa, your property might be gone. We glad we met you too, Quindella. How do we form that link between people like yourself and people and us here in Trinidad and Tobago? Traveling, making that contact, inviting us, inviting people to come see how y'all do it. I don't have no problem going to Trinidad and Tobago. I love to take me and some of the members of my temple down there, So, definitely. Is there a way to bridge the gap between African Americans who practice traditional African spirituality and those who follow the path of occultism and metaphysics, such as Wicca and such? Bridge the gap. I don't think there's a gap so much as there is a preference in practice. We got to understand that a lot of these other practices that may be the great-great-grandchildren of Africa didn't start in our continent. Therefore, people that practice things like Wicca and what's another one? I can't remember the name of it right now. But they didn't originate in our continent. And although we may have some things that are similar, we have a lot of things that are different. So I think in the interest of keeping our tradition as pure as possible, we should respect you guys. You guys should respect us. But there's certain things we're not going to be able to be a part of. And that's just the tradition. Yes, my wife does have an egg bay. And sometimes I swear that egg bay comes down into her. And she wants to get playful and joyful. And you got to understand, egg bays are childlike spirits. So they like to play. And they're like, hey, how you doing? And I swear sometimes that egg bay comes down. Hey, my godfather's in the building. Oba Atayese Oduno Golano. If you want to know about the trip, that's the man you need to talk to. That's the man that organized everything. And we're going with him to these countries. And we're thankful that he's built these bridges in these countries. He's also built bridges in Cuba, Tanzania. So we're doing something special here at Elisha Ray, and we're building bridges. The type of things you guys are talking about between African Americans and traditional African practitioners. We're building those bridges. So come be a part of something great next year. Please explain to the family about the Ankh. The Ankh is a symbol of life. The Ankh is a symbol that was carried around by the priest of Kemet, the Kari priest. But there's much confusion about the Ankh. I know you've heard the Ankh referred to as the womb. I know you've heard the Ankh referred to as the joining of the male and the female and all that. And this is why I say you need to get into the language of Kemet, because the language says that's not what it means. The language has its own word for the feminine areas in that area. And to be, and what's funny is the name for those areas in Medu Neter is Kat. K-A-T. Ain't that crazy? Ain't that what we call it, brothers? But it's crazy, right? So based on linguistic evidence, the Ankh is talking about life as breath. And your shoulder blades and your sternum make that symbol, with the circle being around your head. This being the house that encapsulates life. Ankh. Simple, right? African people are very big on symbolism. So it's not gonna be something very complicated most of the time. It's gonna be something very simple. Very simple. So based on what they told us, what our ancestors told us, that's what the Ankh represents. I would like to know your idea of what makes two people married. I would like to hear significant differences between Western thoughts and our thought. Want to incorporate you find my way. What makes two people married in African tradition is uniting lineages, uniting ancestors, uniting tribes. So this was the principle amongst our people for the purpose of marriage. It's not just two people liking each other, now they want to be with each other. No, you are marrying your ancestors together. You are now combining your ancestral shrines together. You're now taking a vow that each of the ancestors will work for both of you forever. Even if you get a divorce, ancestors don't know nothing about divorce. They're going to keep working for you. I'm not going to touch them crystals today. I'm not going to do it. What advice do you give someone who is ready to be initiated? Find a temple. Depending on where you live, I may be able to help you with that. But let me be clear. When you talk about initiation, everything we do divination before. So we have to ask permission for you to be initiated. You got to get an okay from, your ancestor or your Orisha, whoever it's usually your ancestors. They have to okay you being initiated. So find a temple, get that divination done, and then your priest will know the next steps. I heard you talk about a meta script that's provided trouble with translation. Can you talk about that? Oh, I think you're talking about the one that I obtained from the Nubian Museum, and it was incomplete, so it was giving translators a bit of trouble. But the script that is giving us the most trouble is the Meroitic script out of Nubia, which is the script that is indecipherable at the moment. What's up to Arkin Nahisi, another brother I went to Kemet with? That's my brother. Uh-oh, my godfather got a question. I'm on the hot seat. Explain to us about making the transition from Western religion to traditional spirituality, cultures, and traditions. What are some of the challenges and some of the great experiences from your journey? Great question. Making the transition from Western religion to African spirituality is a journey that's going to take a while. And what I mean by that is you have to learn to see things through your ancestors' eyes versus what you've been taught your entire life. And I mean your entire life, from when you was this high to now you that high, you've been taught this Western way of religion. And now through your own research, you've determined that that is not what your ancestors practiced, and you want to move towards a different route. So a lot of things we tend to put into terms we can understand, right? So we try to interpolate some of the things in African spirituality in a Christian way or a Islamic way. And sometimes some things just don't fit. African spirituality got its own lane, baby. It's a 5-lane highway with many bumps, bruises, and you can go fast, you can go slow, but you got to get this lesson either way. So I would say take your time. Just take your time. Read as much as you can about the culture. And thankfully, I have people that I can ask things to. My Baba Lao, my Baba Losa, that can, answer them because they've been down this road 20 years ago. So get you a good priest you can ask questions to. Therefore, you can start to conceptualize it the way your ancestors conceptualized it. And that's one of the biggest challenges, I would say, And one of the greatest experiences I can say is becoming an Egungun priest. And it all just, it clicking, When you go to an Egungun festival and you bring your Agan out, and for those that are unfamiliar, it's the masquerade of your ancestors. And it's your ancestor that you bring out. And it come out. And your ancestor knows you. It knows you because it knows your energy. I'm sorry, I'm trying not to get emotional. That's one of the greatest experiences of my life. And I do it 100 times over because there's nothing like ancestral veneration. There's nothing like masquerades. There's nothing like feeling that energy. And I will cherish that for the rest of my life. Okay, Brother Anubis, you're in Michigan. I'm not familiar too much with people in Michigan. I have to actually ask around, brother. If you're able to travel, let me know. Maybe we can get you to a place that's closer than we know people. But I don't know many people in Michigan. This is why continental Africans don't like to marry diaspora, because people in America do not know what tribe they're from. It's so a reason, but it's a definite factor. Well, we all should know our lineages, but Africans in particular in America, our lineage was stolen from us. And what I mean by that, we were stolen the opportunity to find out where our lineage was. So that's not something that can be uncorrected or corrected. We can correct that. So there shouldn't be a way to discriminate against African women from America. Hey, what's going on, Sister Harvey? Miss you, sis. What is Ifa? Ifa is the coded words and wisdom from Oludumare. So Ifa is the wisdom of the tradition. Traveling is not a problem. Cool. Yeah, we'll have that conversation, bro, for sure. So good point. It's very important for people to let go of their Western mind and coming into traditional African spirituality. Very, very, very important. We do not want to religiousize African spirituality because African spirituality does not fit into the religious narrative like Christianity, Islam, and Judaism does. African spirituality is about work. You can't just sit down and pray and pray and pray. African spirituality, you're going to have to work. You're going to have to work for what you want. You have to work. You have to build your character. You're going to have to put in time, study. You know, it's not just about going to church or a mosque. African spirituality is in its own lane altogether. So I agree with you, Oba. Absolutely. Y'all know we have a real king in the chat room. That's a real king right there. He has been enshrined as a king in Africa. How dope is that? So, you know, that's my godfather right there. So, you know, that's the guy that's training me, you know, to meet my destiny. So I'm fortunate enough to have these type of people in my life. Our people are hung up on prophecies. Do you believe no matter what religion, no matter the religion, people can give prophecy? Also, prophecies are part of African traditions. We are hung up on prophecies from religions of conquerors and foreigners, but we don't read the prophetic light type things from our own tradition. So they're proverbs. They're things that have come out of readings that I guess you can say are prophecies. But there's things that are constantly read, constantly updated. Like I just shared with you the Odu for the year. We do this every year. It's not something that lasts, you know, the Odu from last year is last year. This is something different this year because life constantly evolves and changes. So we have to always stay on our game, so to speak. So, you know, I hope I answered your question with that. Well, Sister Akatet, I hope I said that right. I hope that I'm glad that my words inspired you and that you know, join us on this, what we like to say, Juju life. Everything African spirituality is Juju life to us. Whether you practice a comb from the Akan people, whether you practice Voodoo, whether you practice Ifa, whether you practice whatever it is African spirituality you practice. That's what we call it, Juju life. Can we sue the government for stealing a comb? You can. I don't think you're going to be successful, but you can. I mean, you would have to put together a heck of a case to defeat the United States government. Not saying it's impossible, but I would go more towards the route of suing them for kidnapping. Because you got to remember, slavery was legal. Slavery was legal during the transatlantic slave trade. That was all legal. They had whole conferences about it later in the Berlin Conference where they carved up Africa and said, you get a piece, you get a piece, you get a piece, you get a piece. So that was legal. But kidnapping was illegal. So I would go the route of kidnapping for legal action. Did we believe in astrology as Roman Greco people did? No. I mean, it's as simple as I can say it. You won't find astrology in traditional African culture. You will find astronomy. You will find astronomy. Astronomy is something that we created in Africa, judging things off the stars, off the moon, off the trajectory, different types of year. We had harvest, different types of year that we knew to plant. We knew when not to plant. This is all astronomy. If you look up Naptoplaya in Kemet, it's a natural satellite that's built off of astronomy. Astrology comes later with the Romans and the Greeks. And they come with the zodiacs, which means animals, which is why all the zodiacs have animals. And then you see it like in Hindu culture, but it's not something that came from Africa. Indium from West Africa. Interesting. Never heard of indium. Interesting. You have to hit me up, tell me more about that. Well, I've been on this thing an hour and 20 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and get off. This is something I'll be doing every weekend. I hope that you guys join me with more questions. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for coming out. I'm Brother Blak Pantha. I'm always here. My inbox is always open because it was telling. Oh boy. Okay, really quick before I go. The Temple of Dendara. The Temple of Dendara was, because I know what he's talking about, because I've been there and I've seen that exhibit. The Temple of Dendara does have zodiac-like symbols on one of the roofs of the temple. But you got to understand, that particular glyphs were built at the time of conquerors, which means we were not on the throne in Kemet when that temple was built. And the people that were on the throne at the time are the same people that later on introduced astrology into their, already have astrology in their culture. So they wanted to put their mark in Kemet. Because prior to that glyph, you don't see astrology in Kemet at all. So, and it is a replica, as my wife said. The real one is actually in Paris. So thank you for that, Brother Jackman. And my inbox is always open. We'll do this next weekend, same time. So, Odabo, and have a good night.